Hello, welcome to another RetroMoose review. I am one of your co-hosts, Zach, and today we talk about one of the more bizarre entrants into the NES beat-em-up genre, Toxic Crusaders. Now, to fully understand the context of how we get to this particular game, first we need to talk about sleaze. Troma Entertainment is the modern flag bearer for gore, sex, and exploitation independent films. They've proudly been the offbeat brand of Hollywood for over 20 years, and through a combination of shock, nudity, and practical effects, they've carved the ultimate niche fan base for film. In 1984, Troma Entertainment comes out with a cult classic film known as The Toxic Avenger, and surprisingly enough, it is their most commercially successful film. At the same time, the Geffen Company has built a cult classic film called Beetlejuice. Surprisingly enough, it turns out to be their most commercially successful film. On a whim, they decide to take an adult horror comedy and transform it into a cartoon for children. They find more success, and thus marketing out the wazoo is done. Troma attempts the exact same thing. Children's cartoon made from an adult horror comedy, merchandise, and eventually video games. And so the Toxic Avenger for the NES is born. So Toxic Crusaders is a one-player, side-scrolling beat-em-up. And it's a dirty motherfucker about it. Everything can hit you with ease. Like, literally everything. The game itself is colorful, dynamic, interesting, but very goddamn frustrating and super repetitive. Not to mention that it seems needlessly difficult. Like, it feels like the developers of the game, they just sat around and went, well, we only have enough ideas to make like 6 levels, so, you know, little kids, let's make it just impossible to get through. And then it'll seem like the game is long, because they can't fucking figure it out. And this isn't just the usual Zac is actually terrible at video games trope. This game is completely unruly. Genuinely, it's considered high-level difficulty by some, completely broken by others. But let's talk about the real bitch of the bunch here in terms of a game screwing with you. The control scheme. So you've got your basic movements in 4 directions, jump, and just terrible attack button. It's just shitty as in it takes like a crap ton of hits to do damage to any enemy, and your mop, which is supposed to power you up, the movie's weird, is immediately taken away because your attack sucks. Unless, of course, you magically know how to use the select button to attack instead of the B button. You know, unlike any NES fighting game in the history of the console. Select button is usually used for maps, inventories, or, you know, in most cases, nothing at all. Instead, it is the only button you need to know about in terms of this game. Once you know the select button's a better way to go, this game gets a hell of a lot less complicated. So yeah, this game is like the sneakiest of all snakes, and the worst part is we didn't know. We didn't know that playing this back in the 90s that it was a bitch and a half. Nowadays, if a game blows, the internet lets you know before the disc even hits shelves. Back in 91, you played a bag of assholes like Toxic Crusaders, and when you didn't get very far, you just assumed that you sucked as a player, not that the game was built poorly. So you just keep trying and getting pissed off, and you die inside, then you live your life forever unfulfilled with self-esteem issues and lack of confidence, especially around the opposite sex, because how can I ever hope to protect the person I love if I can't even beat the pollution boss of level 3 of Toxic Crusaders? Not to mention that finding out that the select button debacle is the reason I have trust issues, because if Troma, whom I've supported with my hard-earned money, can fuck me over like that and keep that vital information from me when I trusted them, how can I fully give myself that? Here are some other Troma franchises that should have also been video games. Surf Nazis Must Die on the Sega Mega Drive. Troma's War on the Atari Computer System. Class of Nukem High for the NES. I blame Beetlejuice for all of this. Thank you for watching another RetroMoose review. Until next time, I'm Zach.